Good evening. I'm not going to look outside. I know it is horrendous. I've just got back, hence being dressed nice and warm. Welcome back to Dice and Bolts. This is the very, or increasingly less regular series of videos where I take a look at the various different games on my shelf and pull out the core mechanics or the core dice and bolts of how those games work. Little bit of a different one today because I'm doing my own game, Stories Unlimited. I thought it was time since I've published it on itch. Big plug there, hawklaw2112.itch.io. It's on there for free. Grab it, download it, take a look. Let me know what you think. Need some feedback. It's like 0.65 version, so very much an alpha release. Yeah, the game is designed as a storytelling game first and foremost. It does have rules, it does have dice, it cribs bits from all over the shop and from the 30 odd years that I have been a tabletop role player. And the game itself uses, by the magic of technology, I love these things, the game uses a full set of polyhedral dice, except the players generally do not roll their dice. Now, I know it's horrendous for a storyteller to make, for a game writer to make a game where players don't get to use the shiny math rocks, but they do. So at the start of a session or after a sort of more major interlude in the story, players will refresh their dice pool, which effectively involves rolling a standard set of polyhedral dice like this. They then leave those dice on the numbers that they have rolled. That's a 17 on the 20, which is quite good. Unfortunately, this bad boy only standing counts as like a normal D10 rather than anything else, which is a bit of a shame. When the storyteller, or MC, Master of Ceremonies, as I like to use, determines that the narrative, and it is quite a narrative game, has got to a dramatic moment, this is a place where either things go well or things get interesting or twisted or fail or whatever. They will then set what is called the crux die, which is effectively the difficulty. So if you're familiar with difficulty numbers, task numbers, success numbers, difficulty classes, it's that sort of thing. But they would announce it as a die type. So a relatively straightforward task would be a D6, something a bit trickier, a D8, something a bit trickier still, a D10, a D12, a D20. Something which is very unlikely to cause an issue is going to be a D4. What the player will then do, knowing that they're going to be faced with, we'll say, a D8, put that one there, knowing that they're faced with a D8 difficulty, the player that is facing this challenge, and it's normally one player that's facing, there are ways by which other players can add bonuses, they will set their stake. Now their stake is made by choosing one of the dice that's in their pool. They then add a bonus if either their job or their tag or their sub tag, which is their job or their sub job, if you're looking at like Final Fantasy 11 and 14 things, their core character class or their secondary character class, role, whatever. Characters normally have two. They have a main and a sub. If their main is appropriate, they would add +2 to their stake. And if their sub is appropriate, they add +1. They can't normally add both. It's very rare for somebody to add more than one sub tag, but you can get other ones, but that's subject for another video. So this character here was facing this D8 task. If they've got an applicable tag, they've got +2 to their dice. So they could say, well, actually, I'm going to spend that 6. Add the +2 means they've got a stake of 8, which means no matter what the storyteller rolls, because the storyteller then rolls the dice, they're going to succeed. If the total stake is double the roll, then it's a critical success. If the total stake, I haven't done critical failures yet, but effectively it's just they need to meet or beat it. Where it comes in is that once a die has been used, it's set to one side, so it can't be used again until the pool is refreshed. Which means that this 17 is going to pass most tasks, but it can only be used once. And then the 7 goes, and then the 5 goes. So a player that's faced with a D8 crux die at a dramatic moment, that then only has these here. Okay, so you've got +2 for your tag. We're going to be using this one, so that gives me a stake of 5. There's no other players that can assist, so there's no player bonds that can be triggered to give them potentially another +1. Storyteller then rolls, gets a 3, gets a 5. The player has succeeded. The dramatic moment passes and is resolved in the player's favour. But again, the 3 is taken away and used. There are things in the game which can stun a dice, which means that its value is halved. And then there are things in game which can injure dice, which means that if you take an injury, so say you fail on this D8 crux, you take an injury, your D8 is taken out, not just taken out of the pool and set to one side as a used dice, it becomes an injured dice, which means that when you get to refresh your pool, usually at the start of a session or in a narrative break period, you don't get to re-roll the dice. So that's the core dice and bolts of things. Players roll a hand of dice. It gives them a set of numbers that they can use. Storyteller announces the crux of the dramatic moment, which is the difficulty, which is the dice size. Players build a stake against it. GM then rolls the crux, and if the player's stake total meets or beats whatever the storyteller has rolled, then it's a success. Otherwise things get interesting. Might actually have to edit this one a little bit. That is the core dice and bolts of Stories Unlimited. As I said, hawklord2112.itch.io. Take a look, see what you think, and give me some feedback. Roll well, and I will see you soon.